Hey guys, so for today's video we're back in the reptile room. I know it's been a little while since I've been in here. I just prefer filming in my room because it has better lighting and there's just more room to film and talk about things. But anyways, we're in the reptile room today for a reason. I've actually made a few changes in here and I want to show you guys what I've done. I also want to update you guys on a couple of the reptiles I've got that you guys may not have seen for a little while, in case anyone's wondering how they're doing. I want to show you guys the terrarium's growth as well as time has gone on since that video where I redid the terrarium. Anyone wondering what I'm talking about, I'll leave a link on the top of the screen. You want to click on that and watch it, that way you'll know what I'm talking about. That's a video where I pretty much replant out the terrarium. So probably the most obvious change is what's right behind me here. My jungle carpets have a new tank. It's a bit bigger than their current one and it's just much nicer, to be honest. As far as the display tank goes, it looks a lot more display worthy. So yeah, I didn't do like a building video with all this stuff, to be honest. I kind of wanted all this done relatively quickly, and I just doing videos where I build things and film myself building and time-lapsing and stuff like that, it kind of takes a long time. it like almost doubles the time it takes to make these things, and I kind of needed this done within a time frame. So sorry guys, I didn't really film myself making it, but I'm going to show you everything I've done so you get an idea. So I'll give you guys a quick layout of the room, because on top of making a couple of new things, I've also moved a few things around. So yeah, I'll show you where everything is now. So firstly, you'll notice this is basically the angle from when you walk in the room. So under the window here I've got a stand I've made. I made this stand out of structural pine, and I made this to hold all my small tanks. Yeah, because they were kind of just scattered throughout the room previously. I'd kind of just stack them on top of other bigger tanks and it just looked kind of messy and not so great. So I made this little stand and put it between my two windows here for all my small stuff. So for example, I got like my centipede tank, my gecko tank, my eastern brown tree snakes up top, and a couple other little rando invertebrates I'm keeping as well. So yeah, that's looking a lot more organized as well. I've also installed lighting on the actual stand itself, so there's lights stuck to the underside of each shelf. They're just little LEDs, so nothing too overly bright and intense, but just enough to light it up. So I've also got my two other tanks here. They're on a new rack I've also made, and on the very top of this rack is the new jungle carpet enclosure. And of course next to that I got my diamonds and my 4 other small tanks with my little pythons in them. So I've got that next to that instead of under the window. But anyways, we'll go to the jungles because that's the main focus of this video, I suppose. So this enclosure, the branches are actually fixed in. I basically glued them in myself, as you can see. They're glued in. I just used black silicone to glue them in, and I kind of blended it as well. If I can open this and show you an example. So pretty much, if I pull this away, I've just kind of stuck the actual bedding onto the wet silicone to blend it a bit for the branch, and this is like solid, it's not moving. So I had to cut these branches to size and yeah, glue them in. Gluing them in was a bit of a challenge. Pretty much the bottom 2, I actually had to put tissue boxes stacked underneath them just to hold them in place while the silicone was drying. And the top 2, I actually had string suspended from the roof of the enclosure, creating like a bit of a hammock. I had a few strands of like rope hammocking these branches in place while the silicone dried on those. So yeah, you can see my female, she's chilling up there. That's kind of become her spot next to the heat spot there. She doesn't sit right on the heat spot because we're in spring and it's kind of warm anyway, so she'll go there for a little bit. She'll move to there where it's still around 27 degrees Celsius roughly that I last checked, and so she'll just kind of chill there most of the time. The male tends to like sitting under his hide like so, and that's also kind of a warm spot, basically not under his hide but just right out here in front of his hide. I have a heat mat there as well, so which is at about 29 degrees Celsius to 30. And he'll kind of just chill just off the heat mat in his hide like that. Sometimes he will venture up and sit up here as well on that corner, so they kind of have a corner each, which is kind of funny. They kind of literally have opposite corners. Anyone wondering, this tank brand is called Wakul. So this is a new tank that I'm using. I haven't got any other tanks of this brand, but I'm quite liking it. It does seem a bit more sturdy than the Reptile 1 tanks. Reptile 1 tanks are fine, they do what they're supposed to do, but because you have to put them together, and when you buy them they come flat packed and they're like multiple glass panels with steel rods and framing, you just got to screw them all together. There's lots of joints and yeah, things there that over time get a bit wobbly and you got to retighten them. This comes as a solid unit, so it's not going to become flimsy over time. It also comes with this background, this styrofoam rock background, which honestly does add a lot to the decor, I say. And yeah, I'm actually really happy with this. My jungles definitely love it. They've got a bit more height as well. The female has not come to the bottom of the enclosure since being in it, and it's been about a week now. The male kind of goes everywhere, but the female tends to like staying up there. So one of the animals I'll update is on is my little eastern brown tree snake. He's been doing great. He's finally eating properly. When I first got him, he was very finicky with the food, and it would take me ages just to get him to eat something. Thankfully now he's put on a bit more weight, he's shed a few times, he's grown a little bit, and he's eating quite happily now, so that's great. He's settled really well. Still has a bit of a temperament though, so hence why he's on the snake hook. I just don't like to stress him out because he's quite twitchy and nervous because he's so small. So until he starts mellowing out a bit, which usually comes as they grow, I'm going to just handle him as minimal as possible and just use a hook because he just seems to hate being touched. So yeah, but he's been doing great. He is starting to come out more. When he was very little, when I first got him, he did hide virtually 98% of the time. I only saw him at night time. He never came out in the daytime. So to feed him, I'd kind of have to, you know, like take his little hidey hole out and feed him. So it was kind of a pain to feed him because he was never out when I wanted to feed him. But yeah, thankfully now he tends to sit out a bit more, so it's a lot easier. So probably another one I haven't shown in a while is my Albino Darwin. Yeah, nothing new with him. He looks great. He's still doing great. Yeah, feeding really well, of course, being a Darwin, they all do. So I'm probably going to be upgrading this one's enclosure in the next 6 months to a year, maybe. Yeah, because he's getting a little bit of size to him. He's by far from a big snake. He's still only a baby, really, but yeah, I'll probably upgrade his enclosure soonish. Maybe, yeah, 6 months to a year, I'd say, he should be due. So another one I haven't gotten out for the camera in a little while is my jungle jag. So yeah, another one that's been doing really well. Nice and fat. This guy's probably one of my favourite small carpets. He's just always sitting out on display. He's always looking great. His temperament is still kind of a bit meh, up and down. Some days he wants to be friendly, some days he doesn't. Just getting him out of his enclosure, he's always very defensive and he'll have a few snaps at you. Once you get him out and you get him like moving like this, he's pretty chill. Still, you know, you freak him out or frighten him, he will have a bite. So he's, yeah, a bit up and down still, but he's pretty good. So my two little diamonds have been doing pretty good as well. Again, growing, putting on weight. This one in my left hand here is my high yellow diamond, and this one here is my natural wild variety color type diamond. And yeah, they've been doing great. This particular one's always been a bit less aggressive with feeding. He eats fine, he's just very, very gentle with the food, where the high yellow smashes food. But when you get them out and hold them, the high yellow one is a really peaceful, kind of friendly, calm one to handle. Where this one is a bit like my jag, he's up and down. Sometimes he'll give you a bit of a nip, so yeah. It's just pot luck with snakes sometimes. Last one I'm going to update you on is my Darwin coastal hybrid. As you can see, he's put a little size on as well. You'll also notice I'm still using the hook to hold him because he does still bite quite a lot, like more so than my jag. He's definitely my most defensive snake. And I'm just keeping his attention on my hand because he usually goes to my face. And the reason I also don't like holding him with my hands is because every time he gets hands on him, he always seems to freak out, bite the crap out of you, and at the same time he'll musk. So it's just not pleasant to get crapped on and weed on while being bitten. And then at the same time he'll try to run while flicking his tail around, spraying musk everywhere. So for that reason alone, I don't get him out often because it's usually a bit of a mess with him, with cleanup and stuff like that. And he's just not pleasant to hold, so I've decided to just keep him as a display animal. And yeah, that's about it really. But other than that, he's doing great, smashing food like every coastal would. Just can't really hold him much. Lastly guys, I'm going to give you an update on the terrarium. So yeah, it's grown pretty well. I mean, the neon pothos, all there, has grown like mad. It's grown all the way over this side, all the way up the wood. Yeah, neon pothos doing well. The scrambling fig that I put in did not make it. It just didn't like it in here. That one was an experiment plant, I suppose. And the philodendron xanadu is doing fine. It had to regrow, so I kind of knew this would happen because I had to break it apart when I put it in, so I knew that would stress it out. You'll notice that all these smaller leaves here are all new leaves. All the original leaves on the philodendron xanadu died. They just couldn't adjust to the change in environment, I suppose, but the newer ones that are regrowing have adjusted, so yeah, it's kind of restarting, but it's fine, it's coming back. So yeah, the plants did well, and looks like somebody is hungry. So I think we'll give the frogs a little something to eat while we're here. So, there you go. Now you know what's new in the reptile room. Before I go guys, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Don't forget to bing that notification bell so you guys know when I upload new videos. Also, my Instagram's down below if anyone would like to follow me there as well. But until then, I'll see you all in my next video. Bye bye.